Let me begin with a very simple idea, my dear. You are allowed to become addicted to being kind to yourself. Not addicted in the sense of losing control, but addicted in the sense that your favorite feeling in the world is a feeling of inner safety, a feeling of coming home to yourself. So many of us spend years chasing people who might love us, chasing approval, chasing some magical moment when the world finally says, "You are enough now." And yet the deepest relief comes the day you decide, even a little bit, I will be the one who makes it safe for me to be me. Take a small breath with me now, in and out. And just notice how your body responds when you whisper inside, I am safe when I am myself. You may not fully believe it yet, that's all right. We are just planting a new seed. You see, the biggest reason we betray ourselves, overwork ourselves, and abandon our own needs is very simple. We don't feel safe being who we are. We are afraid of criticism, afraid of rejection, afraid that if we show our true thoughts and feelings, we will be left. So we put on little masks. We act the part. We say yes when we mean no, and then we wonder why we feel so exhausted. When you criticize yourself, when you attack yourself with your own thoughts, you are literally telling your nervous system, you are in danger with you. Your body goes into fight or flight. Your creativity shrinks, your intuition hides, your natural charm disappears. It is very hard to shine when the person in your head is throwing stones. So self-love is not about becoming selfish or arrogant. Self-love is about building a quiet inner house where your own heart is not afraid of you. Imagine for a moment that your mind is a home you walk into every morning. Is it a place where you are greeted with warmth? Or is it a place where someone stands at the door and says, "You're late. You're not good enough. Look at everything you haven't done"? Most of us would never speak to a small child the way we speak to ourselves when we're disappointed. And yet we accept this internal abuse as if it were normal. I want you to begin experimenting with another way. Every time you catch yourself attacking you, pause for just a second and say, I am learning to make my mind a safe home for me. You don't have to stop every negative thought overnight. That would be like expecting a house to clean itself in 5 minutes after years of dust. But you can notice. You can open the windows. You can gently replace one cruel sentence with a softer one. When you tell yourself, of course I feel scared, and I still love me, your body hears, we are safe now. We don't have to run. Safety does not make you weak. Safety makes you clear. Safety allows you to hear your own wisdom instead of only your fear. Self-love at its heart is simply choosing to become a safe person for yourself to live with day after day. Now let's talk about how the outer world responds to this inner house. Life is very much like a mirror. It tends to reflect back to us the way we treat ourselves. When you consistently treat yourself as an afterthought, you will notice you often end up in situations where you are placed last, at work, in friendships, in love, not because life is cruel or you are cursed, but because your energy is quietly saying, I don't matter very much, and the world is agreeing with you. On the other hand, when you begin to respect your own needs, when you speak to yourself with kindness, when you say gentle no's to what drains you, you are sending out a new message. I am someone worth considering. I am someone worth honoring. Life hears this. People feel it, often without knowing why. The universe arranges our experiences to match the value we place on ourselves. This is why I often say you cannot wait for the world to treat you well so that you can finally love yourself. You begin by loving yourself, and then the world learns how to relate to you. I'd like you to sit with one question today, a very simple one. If I were the person I loved most in this world, how would I treat myself today? Not tomorrow, not for the rest of your life, just today. Would you rush yourself, insult yourself, ignore your tiredness? Or would you perhaps speak a little more gently, move a little more slowly, give yourself 5 minutes of silence, choose one nourishing thing instead of the quickest fix? You do not have to change everything, but you can choose one action that matches the way you would treat someone you truly, deeply love. This inner love even touches your relationship with money. Many people separate self-love and finances as if one lives in the heart and the other lives in the bank. But money is simply one of the ways life responds to our sense of worth. If, deep inside, you feel you are always too much or not enough, you may find yourself undercharging, overgiving, or constantly rescuing others while neglecting your own needs. You might notice a pattern like this. You buy the cheapest possible things for yourself. You tolerate discomfort. You tell yourself, "It's fine. I don't need much." But when it comes to others, you overspend to be liked. You stretch beyond your limits to seem generous, and then you feel resentful and empty. Underneath that pattern is a quiet belief: I am not worth good things, but I must buy affection. When we are addicted to people-pleasing, we often use money as a tool to say, "Please love me." And of course, that never truly satisfies. True self-love says, "I am worthy of being cared for by me, within my reality, without guilt." That does not mean impulsive spending to prove something. That is just another way the wounded self tries to feel better for a moment. What I would like you to experiment with is very small, very gentle. Choose one area, maybe the food you eat, the towel you use, the notebook you write in, a simple skincare item, a pair of socks, and upgrade it just a little within your means. Not 10 times more expensive, just a little better, a little softer, a little more nourishing. While you choose it, say to yourself, "I am worth this small kindness. I am worth being cared for." It's not about the object, it's about the message. Your subconscious is listening. Each time you allow yourself a small upgrade, you are teaching your inner child, you are not a burden. You are worth decent, gentle things. Over time, something begins to shift. You start making financial decisions not from panic and scarcity, but from a calm sense of, "I will take care of me, and I can trust myself to be wise." This is what I mean when I say that self-love changes everything. It changes the work you accept, the relationships you tolerate, the way you rest, and the way you spend. So let us hold this together for a moment. I am becoming a safe place for myself. I treat myself as someone I truly love. I am worth small upgrades in the way I care for me. Take a deep breath in and let it out slowly. You don't have to become perfect at self-love today. You don't have to feel a flood of adoration for yourself. You are simply learning a new addiction, one that soothes your nervous system, clears your mind, and gently lifts the quality of every area of your life. Little by little, choice by choice, thought by thought, you are turning your inner world into a home where you are always welcome. And when you live in that kind of home inside, the outside world has no choice but to start rearranging itself to match. You know, my dear, I've watched this again and again in people's lives, and I've watched it in my own. The moment we begin to love ourselves, even a little, the pattern of life around us starts to shift. It's almost as if your heart is a little radio station, quietly broadcasting one message all day long, whether you are aware of it or not. When you walk around thinking, "I'm not enough, I'm a burden, I should be grateful for whatever I get," that is the station you are tuned to, and life faithfully sends in callers who match that frequency. People who take advantage, jobs that underpay, friendships where you always give more than you receive, not because you are bad or broken, but because your energy is whispering, "I'll settle," and the universe never argues. The universe always agrees with the story you keep telling about yourself. So if your story is, "I'm not very important," you will notice you are constantly put in the background. If your inner voice says, "I must earn every drop of love," you will find yourself working very hard for scraps. It isn't a punishment. It's just how energy works. The way a magnet pulls certain things close and lets other things stay far away. A magnet that is full of self-criticism and self-abandonment will pull in experiences that confirm, "Yes, see, you really aren't worth much," and that can feel so heavy. Take a breath with me, in and out, and just notice very gently if any part of you recognizes this pattern. Now imagine, just for a moment, that you become addicted to loving yourself. Imagine that the most familiar feeling in your body is one of quiet respect for who you are. Imagine waking up in the morning and before you think of anyone else, you say inside, "Good morning, my love. I am here for you today." What do you suppose happens to your frequency then? When you begin to speak to yourself kindly, when you stop offering your time and your body and your money to people who trample your heart, your station changes. The old relationships that fed on your self-doubt may start to feel uncomfortable and drift away, and that can hurt at first because we mistake loss of chaos for loss of love. But really, all that is happening is that your new magnet is no longer compatible with what drains you. As you raise your inner standard from "I accept anything" to "I deserve to be treated with care," life slowly reorganizes itself. When you raise your standards inside, life must eventually reorganize itself around you. People who honor you begin to notice you. Work that matches your gifts starts to appear. Little coincidences lead you to better choices, and you say, "What a lucky day," not realizing that your new self-love has quietly been dialing up a new reality. This is not magic in the sense of snapping fingers. It is the natural result of changing the way you hold yourself in your own arms. Remember, your energy is your invitation. As you become truly hooked on speaking to yourself with warmth, respecting your own limits, and choosing what nourishes you, you are sending out a new invitation. Only those who can meet me in respect and care are welcome here. Of course, we don't get to that place in one leap. We build it with little keys, little daily choices. The first key is very simple and very powerful. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to a dear friend who is doing their best. Not a perfect friend, not a superhuman friend, just a human being you love. Would you ever look at that friend and say, "You're so stupid, you ruined everything again. You'll never get this right"? I don't think you would. You might say, "Yes, you made a mistake, but you're learning. You can try again." So from now on, each time you catch yourself using harsh names on you, idiot, failure, hopeless, I want you to stop and change the sentence to, "I am learning. I am growing. I am doing the best I can with the awareness I have right now." That's all. You are not denying what happened. You are choosing a kinder way to narrate it. You can even put your hand on your heart and say out loud, "Sweetheart, of course you feel this way, and I still love you." At first it may feel awkward, even silly. The old inner critic may scream louder for a while. That's all right. We are not trying to argue with it. We are simply bringing in a new voice. Self-love begins the day you decide, "I will no longer be the bully in my own mind." Every gentle word you give yourself is like planting a flower in a garden that has been full of stones. You may still see the stones, but slowly more color appears. Another key is this: begin to treat your boundaries as sacred instead of selfish. Many of us learn that love means saying yes to everything, letting people cross every line, letting work swallow our time because we are so afraid of disappointing others. But each time you say yes to something that feels wrong in your body, you are saying no to yourself. Self-love asks you to flip that around. The next time someone asks for more than you truly have to give, pause, feel your breath, and ask, "If I loved myself deeply, what would I answer?" Maybe your answer is, "Not tonight," or "I can help, but not to that extent," or even, "No, this doesn't feel right for me." It might be one small word, but it is a big act of love. Every honest no to what harms you is an honest yes to your self-respect. You do not have to explain your boundaries with long speeches. A soft, clear answer from a peaceful place is enough. At first, your nervous system may shake a little. That's just the old training telling you that safety comes from pleasing everyone. As you practice, you begin to discover a new safety. The safety of knowing that you will not abandon yourself to keep someone else comfortable. Your energy becomes calmer, stronger, more trustworthy. And guess what? The people who truly care about you will adapt to that. Those who only loved you for your overgiving may fall away. And that is a blessing in disguise. Now let's look at those tiny promises you make to yourself. The ones that seem so small that you think they don't matter. I'll drink a glass of water when I wake up. I'll walk for 10 minutes. I'll turn off my screen 15 minutes earlier. These are not just habits on a checklist. They are opportunities to teach yourself. When I say I will care for you, I mean it. Self-trust is not built by grand declarations. It is built the way muscles are built, little repetitions day after day. You do not have to walk for an hour. You can walk for 10 minutes and say, "See, we did it." You do not have to change your whole diet. You can add one nourishing thing and say, "I chose something good for us." Each time you keep a small promise, your inner child relaxes a bit more. The voice inside no longer says, "You always disappoint me," but begins to murmur, "Maybe I can rely on you." Every small promise you keep to yourself repairs a little piece of trust inside you. So instead of overwhelming yourself with huge goals, I want you to choose one simple act of care you can do today, something you can complete in a few minutes, and let that be your proof of love. Put your hand on your heart and whisper, "I am learning to be someone I can depend on." Another beautiful piece of self-love is to stop asking the world for permission to be who you already are. How often do you hide the music you like, the clothes that feel good, the ideas in your heart, because you are waiting for someone to say, "Yes, that's acceptable"? So many of us learn to scan the room before we speak, to water ourselves down, to explain and justify every little preference, as if liking what we like is some terrible crime. I want you to experiment with a different way. Today, choose one tiny thing that is just for you. A color you wear, a song you play, a way you style your hair, a book you read, a way you decorate your space. And do it without apologizing, without writing a long explanation in your head. Simply let it be and breathe through the discomfort. You may feel that old anxiety rise up. What will they think? And you can answer gently, they can think what they like. I am allowed to be me. You are not on this planet to be a copy. You are here to be your own original self. The more you practice tiny acts of authenticity, the more your nervous system learns that being yourself does not lead to disaster. In fact, it leads to relief. And finally, my dear, we cannot talk about self-love without talking about forgiveness, especially forgiveness of yourself. Many people try to love themselves on top of a pile of unhealed guilt and shame, and then they wonder why the love doesn't stick. Somewhere inside, a little voice is saying, "You don't deserve kindness because look what you did." I want you to hear me very clearly now. You have always done the best you could with the level of awareness, pain, and resources you had at the time. Could you do better today? Probably. That is because you know more today. The person you were then did not have the understanding you are gaining now. Self-love does not erase responsibility. It simply removes the need to punish yourself forever. You can acknowledge, yes, I hurt myself there. Yes, I hurt others there. I am willing to make amends where I can, and I am willing to stop beating myself on the head with that story. Imagine gathering all those old versions of you. The frightened one, the angry one, the one who stayed too long, the one who ran away too fast, and seeing them as children who were just trying to survive. Would you throw stones at them, or would you open your arms? You can say, we didn't know how to do better then, but we can choose differently now. And each time the old blame comes back, you can softly repeat, I release the need to punish myself. I am learning, I am healing, I am willing to move forward in love. Take a slow breath with me, in and out. And just feel how all of this lands in your body. You do not have to master all 5 keys today. You do not have to wake up tomorrow as a perfectly self-loving person. You are simply invited to choose one gentle step, one kinder sentence, one honest boundary, one small promise kept, one authentic choice, one moment of forgiveness. That is how you become addicted to self-love. By discovering that it feels so much better to be on your own side than against yourself. Little by little, as you practice these things, you will notice that your magnet is changing, your radio is tuning to a new station, and life is responding. For now, just whisper inside, I am learning to love myself. I am becoming a safe, loving place for me. And we will continue walking together, one soft, powerful step at a time. Can you feel that shift even a little? Just that tiny softening when you begin to imagine treating yourself with more kindness, more respect, more gentleness. If you can feel even the smallest little opening, I want you to know that is enough to begin. Especially if you're listening to me and you are over 45 or 50 or 60, I want to speak straight to your beautiful, wise heart now. So much of your life may have been spent proving yourself, running, caring for everyone else, doing what was expected, holding yourself to impossible standards, and perhaps wondering, is it too late for me? Have I missed my chance to really love myself? And I want to take your face in my hands in a very loving way and say, it is never too late to become the safest, kindest home you have ever had. In fact, this chapter of life is a magnificent invitation. You no longer have to chase every approval. You no longer have to decorate yourself to be chosen. You are allowed now to redefine your value, not by the noise outside, but by the quality of life inside. At this stage, self-love becomes less about impressing and more about blessing. You begin to say, I care more about my health, my peace, and my relationships that truly nourish me than I do about trying to win a game I never designed. Isn't that a relief? As we move through midlife and beyond, the body becomes such an honest teacher. It whispers, and if we don't listen, it begins to speak a little louder. So instead of fighting your body, criticizing every line and curve, what if you could begin to care for it the way you would care for someone you adore? Imagine you are looking after a beloved elder, or a precious child, or a dear friend recovering from a long journey. You would ask, have you had enough water? Do you need to rest? Would a warm bath help? What food would truly nourish you today? Now imagine directing those same questions, that same tenderness toward yourself. My body is not my enemy. My body is my loyal companion, and I choose to treat it with respect. You can start very simply, by going to bed a little earlier, by stretching gently in the morning, by feeding yourself one meal that feels like a hug from the inside. And as you do this, you are telling your nervous system, your cells, and your subconscious mind, I am worth the time. I am worth the care. Self-love after 45 is not about chasing a younger version of you. It is about honoring the woman or man you have become with all your stories, your lessons, your wisdom etched gently into your skin. It is a beautiful, elegant return to yourself. Part of this elegant return is learning to live a little slower so you can actually hear your own heart. For many years, you may have moved so quickly that you were always one step ahead of yourself, always reacting, always planning, always carrying 10 bags at once. Now you are allowed to put some of those bags down. You can ask, what do I really want to do with this day? Not, what will make everyone proud of me? But, what will make me feel honest and alive? Sometimes that means choosing a quiet morning over another obligation. Sometimes it means saying, no, I'm not available for that, even if the other person frowns a little. Remember, choosing your own truth is not selfish, it is self-respecting. You may disappoint a few people who were accustomed to you always pleasing them, but you will delight the deepest part of you that has been waiting decades for you to say, your needs matter too. And you will discover that when you live in truth, when you stop pretending to enjoy what you don't enjoy, and stop saying yes when your whole body is saying no, you create space for the right people, the right work, the right experiences to find you. There is a dignity, a quiet power that arrives when you are no longer willing to betray yourself just to keep the peace. Now, my dear, let's talk about something very practical and very sacred, turning self-care into a daily ritual rather than an occasional reward. Many of us were taught that rest and pleasure must be earned after we have exhausted ourselves, after the house is spotless, the inbox is empty, the to-do list is complete. But have you noticed that the list is never really complete? Life keeps adding one more task, one more email, one more obligation. If you wait until you deserve care, you might wait forever. So let us flip that completely. Self-care is not a prize you get for suffering. Self-care is the fuel that allows you to live. You would not expect your car to run on an empty tank. You cannot expect your heart and mind to shine if you never refill them. I want you to create, starting today, a simple 30-minute ritual that says to the universe, I am my own priority. It does not have to be complicated or expensive. It only has to be consistent and sincere. You might divide these 30 minutes into 3 loving parts. 10 minutes for your body, a slow walk, a few gentle stretches, a warm foot soak, anything that makes your muscles sigh with relief. During those 10 minutes, you can quietly affirm, I listen to my body. I treat my body with kindness. Then 10 minutes for your mind, perhaps reading something that uplifts you, writing a few thoughts in a journal, listening to a piece of music that clears the cobwebs in your head. Let those minutes remind you that your mind is not just a problem-solving machine. It is also a garden, and you can choose what seeds you plant. And then 10 minutes for your heart. You might sit in silence and breathe. You might place your hand on your chest and think of 3 things you are grateful for. You might send a message to someone you love, or simply repeat softly, I am safe, I am loved, I am enough. These are only suggestions. You will discover your own favorite ingredients. The important part is that you show up for you, even on busy days, even when you don't feel like it. Each time you honor this ritual, you are carving a pathway in your brain that says, this is what we do here. We care for ourselves. As you do this, notice what begins to shift around you. The more you show yourself that you are a priority, the more life will mirror that back. People will slowly start to realize that your time is precious. You will find it easier to say no when something doesn't align, and easier to say yes to opportunities that truly excite you. Your decisions will arise from a place of centeredness instead of panic. You may even find that your body responds with more energy, your mind with more clarity, because it finally trusts that you will not push it past its limits without also giving it rest. Every time you choose even 1 minute of care over 1 minute of self-abandonment, you are teaching the universe how to treat you. It is as if you are signing a new contract. From now on, I agree to be on my own side. You are not doing it perfectly. You are doing it consistently. That is where the magic lives. So as we come toward the close of our time together, I want you to feel this very deeply. You do not have to wait for a special day, or a certain weight, or a certain number in your bank account, or someone else's approval to begin loving yourself. You can begin with this very breath, right now. Let your shoulders soften just a little. Let your jaw loosen. Let your belly relax. And silently say inside, today I say yes to me. Not in an arrogant way, not in a way that pushes others aside, but in a way that finally includes you in the circle of your own care. You have given so much to the world. You have tried so hard. You have survived more than you ever thought you could. Now it is time to let that same devotion come home to you. Every morning, when you open your eyes, you are being given another 24 hours. Another chance to say yes to yourself in small and beautiful ways. You may not control everything that will happen in those hours, but you can choose the spirit in which you will meet them. You can choose to meet them from exhaustion and self-blame, or from growing tenderness and respect. Loving yourself is a lifetime journey, and every time you choose yourself, life chooses you back. I would love for you after this to either say out loud or write down one sentence that feels true and kind for you today. It might be, I am learning to love myself. It might be, I am safe to be who I am. It might be, I deserve to be treated with gentleness. Let this be your little seed. Get addicted to watering it with your words, your choices, your rituals, and then watch, truly watch, how your life, step by step, begins to transform.